Right. So, hi Reshu, welcome to Midgard Times. How are you?
I have been good, Vikas. Thank you
So,
for having me.
yeah, of course. So, HAQ is finally now out on Netflix, and it is getting praises from all sides. I mean, there's a general public. I mean, I saw the tweets on Twitter. They were all about how good the movie is. And then there are filmmakers like Sujoy Ghosh and even Karan Johar recently praised HAQ. So, how does it feel right now? What is Reshu Nath feeling right now?
See, it feels good when your film is being watched. It feels good when, uh, people whose film you have watched in theaters, they are watching your work. And the validation always feels good, right?
Sure. We all Validation is a very good thing. I mean, you are making something and you want people to watch it and react to it. So yeah, I understand.
Yeah, it's a visual medium. I mean, like a lot of times, as artists, we say we're doing things, which comes from our heart. But end of the day, you're creating something, and if somebody, if the rest of the world doesn't really connect with it, then a lonely artist is a very sad artist, right?
Is that okay? So let's start. So I don't know. The first question I wanted to ask to you was, how would you define female gaze? How do you see it? Can you tell me your perspective?
Female gaze, like in academic theory, also is about looking at a woman as a whole, doing away with the cliches, the stereotypes, um, work with the interiority of being a woman, not see her as a placeholder. Her experiences need to be, treated as a whole, vis-a-vis a male gaze. Like female gaze doesn't exist in vacuum. When you speak about female gaze, you always need to bring in male gaze. So in opposition to male gaze, where a woman is always means to an end. Like you have this idea of MPDG, that's Manic Pixie Dream Girl. And you'll see it in a lot of movies. It began with My Sassy Girl. So that's the ultimate culmination of the male gaze. And I think you see a woman as a whole, not as a purpose, not as a plot device, not as something that exists to you know uh, just be a kind of an accoutrement in a world of males.
Okay, so that's a very fantastic answer. I like how you told that if to talk about female gaze, you also have to bring in male gaze. So I agree with you there. So I was going through your IMDb page. So I came across this information that you served as a writer on almost 10 projects and you have directed 4 episodes of a TV show. You have directed a short film. You have also directed a feature film. So, I wanted to ask you, what do you prefer more, being a writer, being a director, or maybe both?
So the episodes that I directed is actually a documentary. It's called Indie Jugaad, and it premiered on PBS 4, Channel 4 in America. And it's about innovation and sustainability. So that's different. I've done fiction also. I shot a 1 hour film which Shujit Sarkar had produced. I've also done a short film, but I really enjoy writing. I mean, like it's nice to be in command. It's nice to you know uh, be able to have a say and um, be in charge of molding the project right till the end. But when you are a director, there's just one project, one story you can focus on. I like writing. I like working on multiple projects, and I might want to direct, but then when I do that, I'll have to stop writing, multiple things, and it'll be a sort of monogamy. So when we get to it, probably then we'll see.
Okay. So, I was trying to dig up information about you for the interview. So I came across this thing that you did your MA in filmmaking from Jamia Millia Islamia. And I wanted to ask you because I'm always curious about this question. How did film school education help you in your filmmaking journey? And would you recommend an aspiring filmmaker to go to film school, or is it not actually necessary?
See, going to any school is, mm, fun. Going to college is fun. Going to school is fun. It gives you, apart from, a shared camaraderie of a whole bunch of people who are reading and studying the same thing. It You learn a lot, socially. But if you ask, like, should you go to a film school? Um, Film schools don't teach you how to make films in a prescriptive sense. It teaches you how to watch, probably analyze, articulate why something works or doesn't. If you can go to a film school, great. If you really like cinema, you can learn on the job, whatever is available to you. But it doesn't really mean that people who went to film school make the best, writers, directors, technicians. Um, a lot of times going to a film school also puts blinkers on you. Sometimes you end up uh, trying to replicate the success of other masters. Sometimes you can be an autodidact, you can teach yourself. So it's about whatever works for you. But going to any school or college is always recommended. Education is always recommended.
I imagine it would also help in getting some contacts or something.
Yeah,
Does it make it easier?
that's networking. But if you're not a good networker, going to a film school won't help you either.
Okay, so let's get into your movie Huck, which, spoiler alert, I really liked. But anyway, I wanted to begin by asking it that, what appealed to you about the Shah Bano Begum case? What spoke to you about that? And why did you rename your character to Shazia Bano, if you can talk about that?
See, Shabano, the story of Shabano by itself is, a classical story of David versus Goliath. And she actually takes on a system. She's a reluctant hero. You look at all the beats, they were all there. Um, Yes, so when it came to me, I was a little apprehensive, but I wanted to do it. It was a great story to tell. It hadn't been told in the past 40 years. So I was lucky that, it was offered to me. Supan, you know, uh, called me up, and I'm so lucky Yami said yes to it, because I don't think anyone could have internalized and played Bano the way she did. She brought so much more to the character. The whole, handkerchief thing is something she added to it. That's a very middle class thing, 70s, 80s, 90s, when women used to carry handkerchief around. Imran, to play the charming, entitled, narcissistic husband you cannot fall out of love of. So the prisons are of your own making. And it was not just political drama, it was human drama. It's basically a love story gone all wrong. If she did not love her husband, at least in the fictional version, so she wouldn't have probably, felt, she wouldn't have fought so much. So I saw great space for human drama. It's an very universal story. It's done really well. Once it came on OTT, it's done really well in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, in Turkey, Nigeria, and people are writing uh, long posts on it, discussing everything right from talaq to polygamy. So um, there was something there, and when it came to me, I mean, like I really wanted to do it. Why did we name it Shazia Bano? Because it's not documentary, it's not Shabano's story, it's just the point of departure. We take the germ of the story and then we explore the world. So if we had stuck to Shabano, we would have done injustice to the whole theme that we wanted to explore. Sorry about that.
Um, so I think you kind of answered my next question. You told me that Supan approached you for the film. So before that, means uh, you were not thinking about this case before, means when it came to you, then only you started digging in and all
I
that stuff.
was aware of this case. I mean, like, most of us have heard of this case. Most of us interested in a little bit of, like, politics. And Shabano is the name that's always thrown about. Even if you haven't read about the case, most people know the name Shabano.
So, we are speaking of Supan, so I would like to know how was it like working with him, and did you have any conversations about your script, and did he bring some suggestions from his side to your story?
Supan, I've known Supan for a long time. Uh, Supan is the most chill guy to work with. He doesn't, uh, cause any stress. Also, he allows you space to write and then come back to him. If he has suggestions, he will, ask you if it can be, if it can be done. He's willing to discuss. And since I'd known him for a long time, we had a working relationship. He's collaborative, and mm, he did make suggestions, about clarity. Should we be, precise? Sometimes, like, no, do we really need this scene? It's it needs to be a 2 hour, 15 minutes, film. He also looked at it from the perspective of the audience, and basically, it was great working with him. It was a
Okay, so
genuine exchange, with him, rather than just, like, handing over the script.
great. So, you mentioned earlier how about Yami Gautam's and Imran Hashmi's performance, and I love that scene in the climax where Yami gives the speech, where she and I love how how Yami can be so precise in her delivery, and you can see what's going on in her mind while she's speaking. So love that performance. So I wanted to know, did you write the script with Imran and Yami in mind, because they really fit the part. You can see them in that role. So where these actors in your mind while during the writing stage itself?
So we had narrated the film to the story to Yami right in the beginning, in the process of, like, right before the first draft was ready. Imran came in later, and again, you need someone like the heft of Imran Hashmi to carry forward a character like Abbas, and to give it a certain gravitas and give it a certain integrity. He read the script and he liked it, and he decided to come on board. Um, it's the actors who, made the characters their own. It's uh, what can I say now? You look at it, think of Bano, you only can think of Yami, no one else. When you think of Abbas, you can only think of, Imran. He's played it with so much restraint, and Yami has, it's both of them, both the actors, when they came together. It's a sort of alchemy, right? When both of them are talking to each other, and if you notice, it's a very uh, there are a lot of pauses, but the most amount of talking actually happens between these two characters, the husband and the wife, and there's a whole gamut of emotions. And my God, how it's amazing how they capture it. The monologue. There's so much talking in the film, but they never bore you. It's a There are a lot of those tight shots. There's a lot of intimacy in the film. You rarely go to those wide bheed. It could be a political film, right? Bheed and riots and all that, but mostly you stay within the char diwari. And so the onus on keeping the audience invested in the film is on the actors. Even for that matter, Danish Hussain. He plays the father, like he can be the father of the year right now. Everybody has been talking about how they'd want a father like him. Shiba, Asim Hatangri playing the secular, Musalman. So I think it's the actors who came and totally owned the script.
What terrific actors, what a cast. And this is a courtroom. It's a courtroom movie. So I wanted to know how you shaped those courtroom scenes. Did you put in any research? Did you visit any real courtrooms and all that? And if you watch any movies, what were they? If you can tell about that.
So I had written a show called Illegal. That's
Mhm.
on Geo. So I had actually done a lot of research then, and I have visited session courts. How they look different vis-a-vis, High Court. The Tis Hazari in Delhi looks very different from the High Court in Delhi. I visited the Supreme Court. So I'd done my research. I, like legal dramas. Um, and I read a lot of case history. I read the Supreme Court judgment, the High Court judgment, the Sessions Court judgment. I have lawyer friends, so I spoke to them. So it was research that happened over a period of time because I'm interested in it. There's a lot of stuff I already knew, and I'd already visited some of those places. So it's more of a human drama than courtroom drama. I've written, if it was a courtroom drama, then you'd notice there'd have been more back and forth between lawyers and stuff. We didn't want to get into that territory. There are things you can say in a real court, but if we put it in a film, then it'll distract from what we're trying to saying, get detractors on board, get people offended. So we kind of kept it very concise.
Actually, satisfied, kind of scratched my itch because when I was watching the film, like you said, it's not a typical courtroom drama. And, I was watching the film and it was like, okay, this is not feeling like a typical courtroom, back and forth. It was kind of missing. So, I now got that explanation here. So, okay, moving on. So, when I was watching the film, the one thing that stood out to me that made me go, okay, I need to talk to this writer, and that was the balanced perspective you brought to the characters. When you tell a story like this, there's a certain tendency to go for an easy route by showing your female protagonist as kind of a pure figure, if for lack of better word, pure figure, very innocent, and you cannot blame her as something like that. But here you see that Shazia can be a kind of, if I can use the word nuisance. She constantly calls her husband and all that. I was and even the Imran's character, he's not just a full-on villain. He cares about her father, family. He cares about his wife. So I wanted to know how did did you always plan to have these characters balanced, or did it come after certain revisions and all that?
It's interesting you called Shasya a nuisance because she's calling her
For a
husband.
lack of better word. Mhm.
Um, See, she does get jealous. Uh, I think you're frozen. Were you trying to say something? I missed out on that.
No, no, I was just saying that for a lack of better word, I used nuisance just like that.
So
Nothing else.
they are human, right? And that's how we aim to write these characters. So yes, that was always the idea. End of the day, it's a husband and wife, you know, जैसे एक बंद कमरे की लड़ाई, जो एक मोहल्ले की लड़ाई. सो यू कांट हैव a story of a woman who has this fight in her heart and she wants like स्त्रियों का उत्थान करना है. उस स्पेस में जाना ही नहीं था. अगर बात करें, I don't, when she calls her husband, that's also because she's so dependent on her husband. Her husband has made sure, पहली बार जब ऐसा झगड़ा हुआ, so no, he's the one who stepped in. He has set a precedent. She's calling him up because he has given her the worldview कि अगर ऐसा झगड़ा होगा तो मुझे कॉल करना. He has changed, she hasn't. But when you say yes, there are other things, जैसे अब नई बीवी आई है और उसने कहा है कि ठीक है मैं मदद करूंगी, लेकिन जब उसको शॉपिंग ले जाती है, she wants her to get all the things that she knows Abbas doesn't like. So in a slightly, she can be slightly petty, right? And when pushed against a corner, all of us can be, petty. None of us are no दूध का धुला. It's very annoying to meet people in real life जो कहते हैं कि वो दूध के धुले, हम सब बड़े righteous हैं. It's very annoying to see those people on screen also, because it reminds you how fake they are. Sometimes it's your flaws that make you human. So I think those are things that also make you feel bad for Shazia when she is trying that trick on her, and that's when Saira says कि हम चाहते तो मेहर में आपका तलाक मांग लेते, which allows for a switch of the graph. All the while you think Saira is the seductress, because that's what we usually think of women. Every time we bring a second woman in the picture, the mistress, we always think that the man has been seduced away. So it allows, and again, it's the actors. Yami could have said, मुझे नहीं ये करना, मुझे ये petty वाला नहीं play करना. The fact that you allow, such writing, now, actors have a lot of power in their hands. They are the ones who allow good scripts. So it's a trickle down effect. Good writing happens because it finds takers. Otherwise, we have our best scripts locked in a final draft.
So, you know, uh, you have uh, I'm listening to you. I get the sense that so much thought and was put into your script, and you can also see that in the film, which is why I would like to bring a small complaint,
Mhm.
and that has to do with the scene which I found very underwhelming, and it was that pressure cooker scene where the Yami Gautam's character is told that if a pressure cooker अगर खराब हो जाते तो उसको वो replace कर देते हैं. I just found it quite obvious. I could see, okay, you are kind of like a hand holding thing. So, I would like to just ask you, what are your thoughts about that scene, and was it really necessary? It just did work for me. I just wanted to. So,
Okay.
what did you think?
Okay. No, I'm sure there's some things that work for, some audiences. There's some things which don't work. It was more of a tonal punctuation, and yeah, I mean, like, complaint registered.
Okay, great. So, I one of the reasons I love HAQ is that it tells you to read your religious scriptures, okay, and it also ends with Yami saying "pad," that word. Yeah. So I and that makes it, I think, a very important movie, not only in our current times but also past, present, future, because you must read your religious scriptures, because if you do not, you become very susceptible to manipulation by those who claim to have read everything and understood. So, in that sense, I think HAQ should be watched. It deserves to be watched. And yet, it received its share of controversies. And thanks to that uniform civil code thing, all that. So I wanted to ask you that did you anticipate this uh, negativity, this criticism while you were writing, or did it came like a surprise to you?
No, no, not at all. When I was writing it, I was very scared. I was extremely scared, and it was going to happen. And we have to be tone deaf not to anticipate it. We live in a world of binaries. People are always taking sides, people are always getting offended, and it's getting more and more difficult to write anything. And it's, please everyone. And that is how you see there's so much dilution that's happening uh, in all the films, the storytelling that's coming out, because we want to please an audience, but we also want to take care not to offend a certain group, this pressure group, that lobby, that, you know, group of people. Uh, I, I knew that. That's why, it has a very intimate lens on a very large historical event. I cannot, take out, however much I tried, I could not take out the last judgment that was, delivered in court, and we wanted to keep it in toto as it was. Uh, the lens of the film is much, much narrower than the noise around it. We never talk about. Um, uh, the film ends with, Shazia's Banu's victory. We don't talk about what happened ahead. It is, and that story, which was relegated to the historical graveyard, when you bring it out, there will be other things that, come out with it. And uh, UCC is what people are talking about, because uh, it naturally flows into it. But as creators of the film, we stayed away from it. We haven't made a comment on it at all.
As a film critic, or rather as a person who regularly goes to the movies, I love these movies that, that start a conversation. Actually hate the movies that put the audience in an echo chamber, that tells them, okay, what you are thinking, it's right, and there's no other perspective. Good job, pat on the back, go home, smile, go to Twitter, praise me, and all that. I hate those kind of movies. But I love movies that, are kind of prickly, that go to the prickly territories, and that start a conversation, wider conversation. So I think Huck is one of those movies that did start a very big conversation. Some are right, some are wrong. That's their personal opinion. But it did start a conversation, and I love when movies do that. So before I leave you, I wanted to ask you about the next project, which, if I'm not wrong, is called Lal Batti. And can you tell me something about it?
No, it's not called Lal Batti. It's called Sankalp. And yeah, there's like comes out. I'm working on a couple of things, a series and, like, film. Uh, so yes, just hope, like, there's good work that keeps coming my way as a writer. That's all one, hopes. You get to write what you want, and you still are in the business of writing where you make money.
Okay. So thank you, Reshu, for doing this. I'm very happy because we finally got to do this. We have
I'm
been planning this for so long.
sorry it went
Yeah.
so long, but yeah, I'm not very, a podcast person. So yeah.
No, but you were fantastic, and thank you so much for doing this. And all the best for your for Sankalp and many more future projects. And I hope you don't get to face too much trolls the next time. And yeah, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Vikas. Thank you.
Bye.